We're going to go retro now because it's time for today's Big I. This year, IBM turns 100 years young. So let's take a quick look back at the iconic company in American history. In 1911, the precursor to IBM is created, and it's called Computing Tabulation Recording Company, or CTR. And then in 1924, the company's name changed to International Business Machines Corporation, or IBM. One of IBM's claims to fame is early on was the punch card technology used by the U.S. Census. IBM made it through the Great Depression and both World Wars, I should say. It was also the first corporation to give grants to the United Negro College Fund. And in the 1950s and 60s, IBM focused on development and commercialization of electronic computer technology. IBM has been part of every U.S. manned space effort since the beginning of the nation's space program. And we also saw the first network computers with IBM's 360 system and the technology behind magnetic strips on your credit cards. The 70s and 80s were all about personal computers, floppy disks, and the rise of the Internet for IBM. In 1981, 3 IBM scientists developed the process that would become the foundation for LASIK eye surgery. And in the 1990s, we saw IBM's birth of e-business and its push to dominate business computing. And that brings us to this century. Man, that was a mouthful. IBM, what a storied history. IBM's most recent claim to fame is the Watson supercomputer that beat 2 humans on Jeopardy! And here to tell us all about what's cooking for the next 100 years at IBM is Dr. Bernie Myerson. He is the Vice President of Innovation for IBM Research. Bernie, thank you so much. As I said, a very storied history. I mean, IBM has its hands in almost every innovation as far as technology that we have seen here in the U.S. and beyond. So let's start with the Watson supercomputer. You guys are making huge amounts of data accessible to the masses, but there's been a lot of talk about computers replacing humans. Is that really going to happen? What's going on here?
Computers help humans. They don't replace them. When you step on the brakes in your car, if you're on ice, the fact that the anti-lock brake system cuts in, that's a computer saving you. It's the same thing with Watson. Watson has the ability, for instance, if you show up with your doctors at your doctor's office and your child has a disease that has bizarre symptoms, the doctor can spend the next 30 days looking for what they correspond to, or ask something like Watson for an assist, because it can digest massive quantities of data and sort out the golden nugget in the dirt. And it's that golden nugget that saves your child's life. That's what Watson is about.
So, it seems like when you say computers are taking over, I think what we need to realize is that you need humans to program the computers, and it's not necessarily going to be like the computer, I forget the name, it slips me now, in A Clockwork Orange, where it starts to take over everything. You need humans in order to do it. That's science fiction. This is reality.
Precisely. What happens at this point is we're living in a new age of data. And the problem is there's sensors that aren't smart, which means if there's a sensor in a road and cars are going over it, it says to you 70, 70, 70, 70, 70, because that's how fast the cars passing go by. You don't want to see all that data. You want to see the one that says negative 35, which means there's somebody driving backwards up the road at you at 35 miles an hour. But that may only happen one time out of a million. The computer has patience to watch all of that data and sort out that golden nugget of that person going backwards at 35 and flag it so you can look out for it.
So, Bernie, we see this trend toward natural interaction with technology. What does computing look like, seriously, 100 years from now? Because I ask you that because the phone, just the cell phones that we have, that would have taken warehouses full of big machines, a few years ago in order just to get the same little information. So where next with that?
To some extent, it becomes a completely natural and, more importantly, an invisible asset that you rely upon to help you. In other words, your natural interaction, what you said is absolutely correct. You basically can walk up to the machine, and now, given the language skills we uniquely demonstrated with the Watson, for the first time, you can even make a joke, and the computer will actually understand, because a bunch of brilliant humans, led by Dave Ferrucci, actually figured out how do you parse the human language to allow for all the ambiguities of it. That's the really amazing thing. You can basically talk to it much like you would speak to any other person, and it will know what you want and give you only what you want to make your life easier and better.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit, really, just how far we've come? When you look at an iPhone or a BlackBerry in its sort of PDA, how much, I don't know, just a decade or 2 decades ago, how big would it have to be to get just the information inside of this one PDA? How much space would that have taken?
It's astonishing. I'll give you two simple examples. You have a laptop computer. There's one actually sitting immediately to my right. That laptop computer, let's say we had stopped when we had the aha moment and invented hard drives back in 1950s, mid-50s. We had the aha moment. We have a hard drive. It stores your data, and we just left it like that. If we had done that, the laptop computer sitting next to me would weigh about 250,000 tons, which gives a whole new meaning to permanent press in a laptop. Similarly, if I was, let's say, growing at the same rate computer capability grew, like you just described, from 1950s until today. If I grew in height at the same rate computers grew in their capability, I would basically nowadays stare downward and watch the moon pass well below my knees. The level of achievement is just impossible to understand from raw numbers like exabytes and gigaflops. But literally, I would be tall enough to look down and see the moon pass by around my ankles.
Wow.
And that's an astonishing level of progress, and it won't slow down.
Bernie Myerson from IBM, thank you and appreciate that lesson there. Good stuff.
Happy to be here. Thank you.
Great.